My name is Karen Johnson, 32 years old. I've always believed that the universe rewards good intentions. You help someone in need. Life somehow circles back to thank you. That belief was what ruined me. It was a Tuesday afternoon, September 12th, 3:47 p.m. I was halfway through a meeting when my phone started buzzing. 3 messages in a row, all from Calvin Cole, my boyfriend of almost 2 years. Emergency. Need $5,000. Wired now for my brother's surgery. Please, Karen, it's critical. They won't operate until we pay. I'm at the hospital losing my mind. I'll pay you back the second I can access my account. My breath caught. His brother Lucas was only 26. I'd met him a few times, polite, soft-spoken, worked as a dental hygienist in another city. Calvin adored him. I typed fast under the table. What happened? Seconds later, appendix burst. They said it's really bad. Infection spreading. Mom's unreachable. I'm the only one here. Please, babe, it's life or death. Logic told me to pause to call the hospital to verify, but emotion drowned logic in an instant. I had the savings. About $15,000 in my emergency fund. And what better emergency than this? I excused myself from the meeting, pretending to take an urgent client call, my pulse hammering. In the hallway, I logged into my bank app and wired the $5,000. Confirmation time, 4:02 p.m. Sent $5,000 and what's the hospital name again? St. Mary's Medical. You're saving his life. I love you so much. The words I love you hit differently that day, like proof I'd done the right thing. I waited for updates that never came. By evening, no message, no call. I told myself he was exhausted, sitting by Lucas's bed, too overwhelmed to text. When someone you love is drowning, you don't complain they didn't wave back. But by Wednesday morning, the silence had teeth. 8:07 a.m. Hey, how's Lucas? 10:30. Still no word. I'm worried. One sorrow. Please just tell me he's okay. Nothing. At 1:43 p.m., while scrolling through Instagram during lunch, a video stopped my world. My coworker forwarded it from a mutual friend's story, music pounding, bottle sparklers blazing, and there, front and center, Calvin laughing, champagne in hand, surrounded by people in a Miami nightclub. Same black linen shirt he'd worn in his story the day before. Same wristband he'd shown me on FaceTime that morning when he said heading to the hospital now. He wasn't in any hospital. He was 2 hours away partying. For a moment, I genuinely thought I was having a panic attack. My vision tunneled. The caption under the post read, "Best spontaneous trip ever, Miami Nights." My first instinct wasn't even rage, it was shame. How could I have believed him? How could someone fabricate a dying sibling and look you in the eye afterward? I replayed the video 5 times, searching for some impossible explanation. Maybe it was old footage. Maybe the timing was wrong. But then I noticed a detail that ended all denial, the sparkly wristband from Tuesday's music festival, the same one he'd joked about losing in our last call. My hands shook as I opened our message thread. All those urgent texts still sat there demanding empathy. The timestamp of the first plea for help, 4:47 p.m. The nightclub post timestamp, 12 p.m. The same day. I tried to breathe. Part of me wanted to call him to demand a reason so outrageous it might make sense. Another part, the quieter, colder part, whispered, "Don't give him the chance to lie again." Instead, I opened my laptop and searched how to report wire fraud. Turns out lying to obtain money through electronic transfer is a federal crime. 18 U.S.C. Jar 1343. I'd never even heard of that before. I just knew it sounded like justice. That evening, I walked into the downtown police station. The fluorescent lights flickered, humming faintly. The clerk directed me to Detective Harrison Green, mid-40s, tired eyes, coffee permanently attached to his hand. "Tell me what happened," he said gently. I laid it all out, the messages, the bank confirmation, the Instagram post. My voice shook only once when I said I thought someone was dying. He took notes, no surprise in his expression. "You're talking wire fraud," he said. "We'll need to prove he intended to deceive you at the moment he asked for the money. Not easy, but your documentation helps. So you'll investigate." He leaned back. "We'll look into it. Meanwhile, don't contact him. Let us handle it." I left with a case number and a hollow feeling that justice wasn't as swift as movies pretend. The night air felt sharp, the city louder than usual. Back home, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. No messages from Calvin. No remorse. No explanation. Just silence. Until the next morning. Voicemail from an unknown number. "Hey, babe. Lost my phone at the club Tuesday night. Lucas's surgery went great. Been dealing with so much. Call me when you can. Love you. The audacity made my jaw lock. I saved the voicemail, emailed it to myself and Detective Green, then blocked the number. That afternoon, I opened Instagram again. Calvin had posted a new story, him and a blonde woman clinking glasses by the beach. Caption: "No stress, no drama, just good vibes." I stared at it for a long time before whispering to the empty room, "Good, because the drama's about to begin." By Thursday, the shock had curdled into something darker, a slow, steady burn beneath my ribs. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It was like my body refused to grant Calvin that luxury. I spent the morning compiling everything, screenshots of texts, timestamps of the wire transfer, the Miami Post, even the voicemail he left pretending to be at the hospital. I printed it all out, clipped neatly in a folder labeled Evidence, Calvin Cole. Detective Harrison called around 2 p.m. "Miss Johnson, I've reviewed what you sent. It's solid. We'll start by verifying his whereabouts Tuesday and whether the hospital records match his story." "So, what happens next?" I asked. He paused. "We talk to him, see what version of the truth he's offering." That night I barely slept. Every vibration of my phone jolted me. At 1:12 a.m. a message flashed on the screen, unknown number. "Karen, why are you ignoring me? You have no idea how stressful this week has been. Lucas nearly died. You think this is about money?" I stared at the words, stunned by the audacity. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it straight to Harrison's email with the subject line, "Additional evidence, ongoing deception." By morning, the silence had a rhythm coffee document, breathe, repeat. My coworkers noticed I was quieter, more mechanical. I told them I was tired. No one questioned it. Saturday afternoon, my best friend, Erin, showed up at my apartment with takeout and a blunt question. "What happened between you and Calvin?" "He called my boyfriend last night, saying you're ghosting him during a family emergency." I felt the familiar rush of nausea. "He's lying," I said simply. "There was no emergency. He scammed me for $5,000 and went to Miami with someone else." Erin blinked, speechless. "Wait, what?" I opened my laptop, pulled up the photos, messages, and transfer receipts. Her jaw clenched with every scroll. "Holy hell," she whispered. "He's either insane or brilliant." "Both," I muttered. But he picked the wrong woman to deceive. On Monday, Harrison called again. "Update for you," he said. "We spoke with Calvin. He initially stuck to the hospital story. Then, when we asked for medical documentation, he said the hospital lost the records. A few minutes later, he changed it again, claimed the surgery happened out of state. He's shifting too much. That helps us. Can I ask something?" "Sure. What if he says it was a misunderstanding, that he panicked and intended to pay me back? That's still fraud if he knowingly lied to get the money. We're documenting inconsistencies." A pause. "You did the right thing reporting this, Karen." The words hit harder than expected. For days, I'd questioned if I was being vengeful, dramatic, cold. Hearing that validation, "you did the right thing," was like a breath after being underwater. That night, as if the universe wanted to test that resolve, another voicemail came in. "Karen, this is ridiculous. I lost my phone and you're overreacting. You know how emotional you get. Stop making everything a crime. Call me back before this gets worse." I replayed it once, twice. That last line, "before this gets worse," sounded less like concern, more like threat. 2 days later, another message, this time from his mother. "Hi, dear, this is Claire Cole. I just wanted to check on you. Calvin told me there's been some misunderstanding about money. Maybe you two can talk it out. He's devastated." I didn't respond. I forwarded that to Harrison, too. He replied minutes later. "Keep everything. Do not engage." Wednesday morning, my phone buzzed again. This time a Facebook notification. My coworker had tagged me in a post. My stomach turned as I read the caption under Calvin's smiling photo. "When people can't handle your success, they try to destroy it. Some of us rise above the lies. Hashtag good vibes only." The comments were full of sympathy for him. "She did you dirty, man. Always knew she was crazy. Stay strong, bro." I closed the app, heart pounding. The anger wasn't just at Calvin anymore. It was at how easily people believed him. How a manipulator could rewrite reality in a single post. That evening, I sat on my couch, lights off, staring at the city skyline. The reflection of my phone glowed in the glass. He'd weaponized my silence, turned my restraint into guilt. But I wasn't the naive woman who wired him money anymore. I opened a new note on my phone and typed, "Day 10, still no apology, still lying, but he's slipping. Keep documenting." I didn't know then how far this would go, how many layers of lies were waiting beneath that one Miami trip. All I knew was that the version of me who believed in good intentions, she died the same night Lucas almost did. By week 3, I'd stopped jumping every time my phone buzzed. Not because I was calm, but because I'd learned every vibration was just another attempt to twist the story. Calvin didn't disappear quietly. He came back with a vengeance, smooth, deliberate, and terrifyingly confident. It started with a knock on my door. Not the sharp, impatient kind, but soft, rhythmic, like someone practicing politeness. Through the peephole, I saw her Claire Cole, his mother. Her hair was perfectly set. Lipstick, careful eyes already brimming. I didn't open the door, only pressed the intercom. Mrs. Cole. "Can I help you, Karen?" She began, her voice shaking. "Please, we need to talk. This whole situation is ruining Calvin's life. You don't understand what's happening." "I understand perfectly," I said evenly. "Your son lied about a medical emergency and stole from me. It was a misunderstanding," she said quickly, too quickly. "He panicked, but he was going to return the money." "Do you have to ruin his career over a mistake? Wire fraud isn't a mistake, Claire. It's a choice." Her tone hardened. "You think you're so righteous?" $5,000, you're really going to send someone to jail over that? Your son sent himself there. For a moment, her mask slipped. "You'll regret this, I promise you." Then she left the sound of her heels fading like an accusation. I recorded the entire exchange through the camera app and sent it straight to Detective Harrison. His reply came 5 minutes later. "Smart move. Don't engage further. We've just served Calvin a summons for questioning." But Calvin wasn't done. That Friday, I received a letter, thick envelope, legal header, my name typed across the front. Inside a lawsuit, Calvin Cole versus Karen Johnson. Accusations, defamation, harassment, and emotional distress. Claim damages, $25,000. I laughed out loud, the kind of laugh that sounds too close to crying. He had stolen my money and now claimed I was the abuser. That evening, I sat across from my new lawyer, Patterson Lee, a man whose calmness felt like armor. He reviewed the documents without expression, only muttering, "Classic intimidation play" once. When he looked up, his tone was steady. "This is frivolous. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. You reported a potential crime to the proper authorities. That's not harassment. It's your right." "So he's just trying to scare me." "Yes," Patterson said, "and strengthen his narrative. We'll file for dismissal and countersue for legal fees." Something inside me unclenched. For the first time since this began, someone sounded sure. But then the attacks escalated digitally, socially, personally. Calvin's best friend Elliot texted me from an unknown number, "You're destroying a good man's life over a misunderstanding." "He loved you." I blocked him. Then my coworker whispered, "Hey Karen, did you see Calvin's post?" I hadn't. But curiosity won. The post read, "When someone can't manipulate you anymore, they call it abuse." Funny how that works. The comments were flooded with support. He was crafting a story where he was the victim, and I was the unstable ex trying to ruin his life. That night, Detective Harrison called again. "Update, Calvin's been interviewed. He's spinning new stories. First, he says you lent him the money voluntarily as a gift. Then he claimed you made it up after a breakup." My jaw clenched. "So, which lie are we going with this week?" "Doesn't matter," Harrison said. "Every version digs him deeper." Still, it wasn't easy being the villain in half the internet's eyes. People I'd known for years started acting strange. My boss asked if everything at home was stable. Friends grew silent. Reputation bleeds slowly, but it bleeds. Then something unexpected happened. An email from Lydia, Calvin's sister. "Hi, Karen. You don't know me well, but I saw what's happening. I just want to say, I believe you." Calvin did something similar a few years ago to his ex, claimed his car broke down on the interstate and needed money for towing. She sent him $2,000. He spent it on a trip to Vegas. I told Mom back then, but she covered it up. I read it 3 times. The pattern, the cover-up, the entitlement generational. "Thank you, Lydia," I replied. "I'll forward this to the detective." The next day, Patterson filed our official response. Motion to dismiss citing evidence of fraud, police documentation, and witness testimony. His words to me were calm but razor-edged. "This civil suit will backfire spectacularly. People like him think the law bends to confidence. It doesn't." 2 days later, Harrison confirmed. "The case file is moving forward. We're building intent, phone records transfers, and now a witness, his sister. We're close." That night, as I shut down my laptop, a notification popped up, voicemail from an unknown number. My stomach tightened. It was Calvin's voice, low and venomous. You think you've won? This isn't over. You'll see what happens when you try to destroy someone I love. For a second, the fear almost broke through. Then something colder replaced it clarity. I hit save, sent the recording to Patterson and Harrison, and whispered to the empty apartment. You're right, Calvin. It's not over. Not yet. By the fourth week, the whole thing had stopped feeling like heartbreak and started feeling like war. Not the kind fought with fists or guns. The kind fought with whispers, screenshots, and half-truths that multiplied faster than I could delete them. Calvin had always known how to charm a crowd. Now he was using that gift as a weapon. He started with social media. Posts that seemed vague at first, captions about toxic people betrayal and being accused unfairly. But each one tagged locations I'd been to. He knew what he was doing. The comments rolled in like soldiers volunteering for battle. Ignore her, bro. Everyone knows she's obsessed. She's just mad you moved on. Keep shining, King. Every word dug a little deeper. My friends began texting questions I didn't want to answer. Hey, did you really accuse Calvin of stealing? I thought you two were solid. What happened? Some stopped texting altogether. By Friday, even my workplace wasn't safe. At 10:02 a.m., my manager called me into her office. We got an email from someone named Calvin Cole. She said, eyes careful. He claims you're harassing him online and spreading lies about him to ruin his career. My heart sank. I forced myself to breathe before answering. He's under police investigation for wire fraud. I have documentation for everything. He's trying to retaliate. She studied me. I figured as much. I've read the tone of the email. It's desperate. Still, HR requires we document this conversation. You okay with that? Yes, I said. And thank you for asking. When I left her office, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the absurdity of it all. The man who stole from me was now trying to get me fired. That evening, Detective Harrison called again. Karen just wanted to update you. We've got the warrant approved for his phone records. Should tell us where he was when he sent those texts. Miami, I said. My voice was steady, almost cold. He was in Miami. Let's prove it, he replied. 2 days later, my phone buzzed again, not from Calvin, but from his sister Lydia. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. He's been trying to get me to lie to the police, say Lucas had an operation that week. It's not true. He wasn't sick. I'm done covering for him. I read it 3 times before replying. You did the right thing, Lydia. I'm sorry it's come to this. So am I, she said. He's been doing this for years. Mom always fixes it for him. Maybe this time she can't. That last line felt heavy, almost prophetic. Sunday evening, I logged onto Instagram again. I shouldn't have. Curiosity is its own poison. Calvin's best friend Elliot had posted a photo of Calvin sitting at a cafe, looking thoughtful, captioned, "When strong men get attacked by bitter women, they don't crumble, they build." The comments were worse than usual. My name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. I stared at it for a long moment before clicking report post. Then I blocked them both. Monday morning, Harrison called with a new tone, the kind that makes your spine straighten before he even speaks. Karen, we've confirmed it. His phone pinged from Miami International Airport the same hour he texted you about the emergency. He transferred your $5,000 directly into his account and used it to book the hotel and club reservations. We're forwarding the case to the state prosecutor, maybe even federal, depending on jurisdiction. For a second, I couldn't speak. Then quietly, so, it's real now. It's been real from the start, he said, but now it's provable. After that call, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the sunlight on the floor. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I felt drained, like I'd finally climbed out of a nightmare, only to realize the world outside was just as quiet, just as lonely. That night, I got one more message, this time from a blocked number. You're going to regret this, Karen. You think the police scare me. Watch what happens when I start talking. I saved it, forwarded it, filed it away. Because if Calvin wanted to play the game publicly, I'd make sure every move was documented. 2 days later, a headline popped up on my phone. Event planner under investigation for online scam. It was a small article, just a few paragraphs, but his name was in it. His company, too. The comments were locked. I sat there for a long time rereading it, then whispered to myself, that's what happens when you lie to the wrong person. But I wasn't naive enough to think it was over. Because with people like Calvin, the real damage never comes when they take from you. It comes when they try to destroy who you are afterward. And I could feel it. He wasn't done. He was about to make his final move. The morning I found out the case had gone federal, I was stirring sugar into my coffee when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it until a man's voice said, "This is Assistant U.S. Attorney Rodriguez. We're reviewing your wire fraud report against Calvin Cole." For a second, my spoon froze midair. Federal. That word landed heavier than any insult Calvin had thrown. Rodriguez continued, "It's not a huge sum, but the deliberate deception and the pattern of harassment afterward make it compelling. We'd like you to come in and give a formal statement." When the call ended, I just sat there staring at the quiet swirl of coffee. The moment I'd imagined so many nights justice was suddenly real and terrifying. Calvin's response came fast. Within hours of the article about the investigation, he went public again. "Crazy ex trying to ruin my reputation with false police claims. Pray for people who confuse heartbreak with revenge." It was a masterpiece of self-pity, complete with a filtered photo of him gazing sadly into the distance. His followers flooded the comments with hearts and prayers. I didn't reply. I didn't even read beyond the first 100, but when I checked my email later, there were messages from strangers. Some sympathetic, others cruel. "He said you stalked him. Hope karma finds you." I deleted everyone. The next week, Patterson, my lawyer, called me into his office. He greeted me with a small smile. "Good news. The judge dismissed Calvin's civil suit against you. With prejudice, meaning he couldn't refile." I blinked. Just like that? He nodded. His own evidence disproved his claims. Between your police report, the transfer record, and his public posts, the court saw right through him. He owes you $8,400 in legal fees. For the first time in months, I exhaled without shaking. But the small relief didn't last. That night, someone slid an envelope under my door. Inside, a handwritten note from Claire Calvin's mother. "Karen, please stop. Calvin is desperate. He knows he made a mistake, but this will destroy him. He could lose everything. I can pay you back personally, just ask the police to drop it. You're not heartless. Please." At the bottom, written in trembling cursive, "You'll regret ruining someone's life over money." I folded it once, took a photo, and sent it to Patterson and Detective Harrison. Patterson replied within minutes. "Don't respond. She's tampering. Keep the letter." I placed the envelope in a drawer with all the others, the screenshots, voicemails, and printed messages, a small archive of betrayal. Days later, Harrison called again, his voice different this time, quiet but resolute. "Karen, we pulled Calvin's full phone and bank records. The evidence is airtight. He booked his Miami flight just 2 hours before texting you about the emergency. Then he transferred your $5,000 directly to his checking account, and from there, hotel upgrades, bottle service, and a $1,500 payment to someone named Tessa. We confirmed she was with him on the trip." "Tessa," I repeated slowly. "His ex, the one he swore he hadn't spoken to in years." Harrison continued. His sister's testimony sealed it. She confirmed there was never a hospital visit and that your case mirrors a prior incident with another woman. We've submitted everything to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Charges are imminent. I closed my eyes. For a moment, I felt dizzy, like I'd been holding my breath for months and didn't know how to breathe normally anymore. "So, he's actually going to face charges," yes, Harrison said. "Wire fraud, possibly theft by deception as a state backup. You did everything right, Karen." I hung up trembling, then laughed quietly through tears I hadn't planned on shedding. But Calvin wasn't finished with his theater. A few days later, Lydia texted me. "Mom's losing it. Calvin told her the feds are exaggerating. He's convinced he can charm his way out. He even said you'll come crawling back once this blows over." I almost smiled at the absurdity. "He still thinks this is about us," I murmured. It wasn't. It hadn't been for a long time. It was about accountability. The arraignment came 6 weeks later. Calvin pleaded not guilty. He wore a navy suit and that same disarming smile that had once fooled me into believing he'd never hurt anyone. When he caught my eye across the courtroom, his expression didn't show guilt or fear, only annoyance, like I was an obstacle in his schedule. But when the judge spoke, reading aloud words like fraud, intent evidence, and pattern of deception, his jaw twitched. That was the first honest expression I'd seen from him in months. Afterward, Patterson and I walked out into the cold sunlight. "You did it," he said softly. "Not yet," I answered. "But it's a start." 2 days later, another letter arrived, shorter this time. "When you're old and alone because of your unforgiving nature, remember, you had a chance to show mercy." No signature. I didn't need one. I took a photo, added it to the archive, and whispered to the empty room. I showed mercy the first time I believed him. I won't make that mistake twice. The reckoning had begun, and this time it wasn't mine to face. 2 months later, the courtroom was quieter than I expected, cold, almost clinical. Rows of benches murmured conversations, the faint smell of disinfectant and paper. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like procedure. Calvin Cole, the man who once texted me, heart emojis, and begged for $5,000 to save his brother, now stood beside his lawyer in a gray suit, eyes down, hands trembling just enough to betray his calm facade. When the clerk read the charges, wire fraud, theft by deception, falsifying electronic communication, I didn't feel triumph, just gravity. Assistant U.S. Attorney Rodriguez spoke with the kind of precision that leaves no space for sympathy. He laid out everything: the text messages, the flight records, the bank transfer, the Instagram videos from Miami, even Lydia's testimony that this wasn't the first time Calvin had pulled a similar stunt. When he finished, the courtroom was silent, except for the sound of Calvin swallowing hard. His lawyer tried to spin it a misunderstanding, a moment of emotional impulsivity, a personal dispute, not a crime. But no one believed it, not even Claire, who sat behind him with her face pale and hands clasped like a prayer that had gone unanswered too long. The judge spoke last, calm, clear, unforgiving. Mr. Cole, the court finds sufficient evidence to proceed with the full federal indictment. Bail remains, but you are to surrender your passport immediately. We'll reconvene for sentencing after review of the plea discussions. That was it. No dramatic gavel slam, no cinematic gasp, just a man being cornered by the truth. Afterward, Claire caught me in the hallway. "Karen," she said, her voice paper-thin, "please. He's my son. He's not evil. He just gets lost." I met her eyes. "He found his way to Miami just fine." Her face crumpled. "You could end this. One call, one word from you." I shook my head. I already ended it, the moment I stopped believing him. She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away, her heels echoing like punctuation marks down the hall. By the next week, Calvin's name was quietly removed from his company's website. Lydia told me later that his plea deal was rejected. The prosecutors wanted to make an example. The final article was short, tucked between headlines about politics and weather. Local event planner faces. Federal wire fraud charges, alleged scheme to defraud ex-partner. No sensationalism, no photo, just the facts. And for me, that was enough. The restitution came months later. Patterson called one morning and said, "You'll be receiving a check for $5,000 plus interest from the court's restitution fund." But I didn't cash it right away. Instead, I bought myself a simple white gold bracelet, thin, understated, engraved with one word on the inside, "Enough." A reminder that I didn't need to win. I just needed to stop losing pieces of myself to people who mistook kindness for weakness. Sometimes people ask if I forgave him. Forgiveness is tricky. It sounds noble, but in reality, it's just another word for letting go of the rope that's already burning your hands. I let go, but I never forgot. I still keep that folder in my drawer, the screenshots, the letters, the voicemails, not as trophies, but as proof. Proof that I survived someone who tried to rewrite my story and failed. Last week I got one more message, different number, no name, no threats, just 3 words. "You happy now?" I didn't answer. I didn't block it either. I just looked at the screen until it went dark and whispered, "Yes, finally." Then I turned off my phone, set it on the table beside the bracelet, and went to water my plants. Because peace, I've learned, doesn't always arrive with a bang or a verdict. Sometimes it arrives quietly,